The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched before Ambassador Elena Vasquez, like a vast canyon of polished metal and glowing lights. 12 different alien species sat in their elevated seats, looking down at the single human woman who stood on the speaking platform below. The air felt heavy with the weight of their decision. Elena kept her hands folded behind her back as she waited. She had been standing there for nearly an hour, while the council members whispered among themselves in languages that sounded like music, grinding stones, and electronic buzzing. She did not fidget. She did not tap her foot. She simply waited. The Zephyrian council leader finally spoke. His voice came through the translation device as smooth and cold as winter wind. Human Ambassador, we have reached our final decision regarding your species and its place in galactic civilization. Elena nodded once. I am listening. The tall, blue-skinned alien stood up from his crystal throne. Around him, the other council members leaned forward in their seats. The Altarians with their 4 arms crossed in identical poses. The rock-like, granite people with their glowing eyes fixed on her face. Even the floating energy beings of the Void Collective pulsed brighter with attention. For 300 years, your species has spread across the galaxy like a virus, the Zephyrian continued. You have claimed over 400 worlds. You have built armies and weapons. You have changed the natural order of planets to suit your needs. You fight wars. You argue. You refuse to follow the peaceful ways that have kept our galaxy stable for 10,000 years. Elena listened without changing her expression. Her dark eyes remained calm, almost sleepy. We have watched you closely, added the Altarian representative, her 4 voices speaking in harmony. Your people are too quick to anger, too ready to use violence, too eager to change things that should be left alone. You do not respect the old ways. You do not listen to wisdom. The granite speaker's voice rumbled like an earthquake. Your technology grows too fast. Your population spreads too quickly. Your ships go places they should not go. Your scientists ask questions that should not be asked. You are dangerous. One by one, each council member spoke. They listed humanity's crimes against galactic peace. The humans had stopped 3 wars in the past decade, but the council called this interference. They had saved dying civilizations with new medical technology, but the council called this disruption of natural order. They had explored dead systems and brought them to life, but the council called this reckless expansion. Elena listened to it all. She did not argue. She did not defend her species. She did not even look surprised. Finally, the Zephyrian leader raised his hand for silence. Therefore, by unanimous decision of the Galactic Council, humanity is ordered to withdraw from all worlds beyond your home system. You have 1 standard galactic year to remove all human presence from colonized planets, space stations, and installations. After that time, any human found outside the Sol system will be considered an invader. The hall fell silent. The council members watched Elena's face, waiting for the explosion they expected. Humans were known for their loud voices and angry words when pushed into corners. They were famous for fighting back against impossible odds. The council had prepared for threats, for pleading, for desperate attempts at negotiation. Elena Vasquez stood quietly for a long moment. Then she smiled a small, polite smile. Thank you for informing me of your decision, she said. Her voice was steady and calm. Humanity will comply with your request. The silence stretched longer. Several council members shifted in their seats. The Void Collective's energy forms flickered with what might have been confusion. You accept this judgment? Asked the Altarian representative. Yes, Elena said simply. If the council believes it is best for galactic peace that humans withdraw to our home system, then we will do so. Without argument? Pressed the granite speaker. Without argument. Without conditions or demands for compensation? Asked the Zephyrian leader. Without conditions. Elena could see the confusion spreading through the assembly. This was not how humans were supposed to react. Where was the famous human stubbornness? Where were the threats and bargaining attempts? Where was the anger? The crystalline hive mind spoke for the first time, its voice like singing glass. Perhaps the human does not understand. This means leaving behind all the worlds your species has spent centuries building. All your colonies, all your investments, all your achievements outside your birth system. I understand perfectly, Elena replied. We will begin withdrawal procedures immediately. All human colonies, stations, and installations will be evacuated within the required time frame. We will ensure that our departure causes minimal disruption to galactic stability. She paused, then added, We would appreciate a list of which species will be taking over administration of the territories we are leaving. We want to make sure the transition is smooth. This practical question seemed to catch the Council off guard. They had been so focused on getting rid of humanity that they had not spent much time planning what would happen to human territories afterward. We will provide such a list in due time, the Zephyrian leader said. Excellent. Is there anything else the Council needs from me today? The alien leaders looked at each other. This was not going according to any script they had prepared. No, the Zephyrian leader finally said. You are dismissed. Elena bowed respectfully to each section of the Council. Thank you for your time and consideration. I will inform Earth of your decision immediately. Good day. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. Behind her, she could hear urgent whispering in a dozen alien languages. Just before she reached the door, the Zephyrian leader called out, Ambassador Vasquez? She turned back. Yes? That is, all? No final words? No protest? Elena thought for a moment. The Council has made its decision based on what it believes is best for galactic civilization. Humanity respects the wisdom of the Council. We wish you all peace and prosperity. And with that, she left. Behind her, the greatest governing body in the galaxy sat in stunned silence. In 10,000 years of history, no species had ever accepted banishment so calmly. Every other race had fought, begged, or at least argued. The humans had simply said yes and walked away. The Void Collective pulsed with uncertainty. Is this some kind of trick? Perhaps they are planning something, suggested the Altarian representative. But the granite speaker, oldest and most experienced of all the council members, felt a strange chill in his stone heart. Or perhaps, he rumbled slowly, we have just made a very large mistake. The other council members dismissed his worry. After all, they had just solved the galaxy's greatest problem. The troublesome, unpredictable humans were leaving. Peace would return to the stars. None of them noticed that their own communication systems, their medical equipment, their food, distribution networks, and their defense satellites all carried small labels reading human-made components. None of them realized that the galaxy's stability depended on far more than they understood. They would learn soon enough. But for now, they sat in their crystal chairs and metal thrones, feeling very pleased with themselves. The human problem was solved. What could possibly go wrong? In her ship, already preparing for the journey home, Elena Vasquez looked out at the stars and sighed. You have no idea what you just did, she whispered to the galaxy. But you will. The news spread across human space faster than light itself. From the bright cities of New Tokyo on Kepler 442b to the mining colonies in the asteroid belts of distant systems, every human settlement received the same message. The Galactic Council had spoken. It was time to go home. On the agricultural world of Haven's Rest, farmer Maria Santos stood in her wheat fields and read the message on her tablet. Around her, golden grain swayed in the artificial breeze created by the planet's weather control systems. She had spent 15 years turning this world's red soil into fertile farmland. Her children had been born here. This was home. But the message was clear. All humans had to leave. Maria looked at the sunset through Haven's Rest's 2 moons and nodded slowly. Well, she said to herself, I guess we're moving. The same scene played out on 400 worlds. Construction workers on the space stations. Around Tau Ceti stopped their welding and looked at the stars. Scientists in the research labs of the Vega system saved their data and began packing equipment. Miners in the deep tunnels of distant asteroids put down their tools and headed for the surface. But something strange happened. There were no protests, no angry crowds demanding that Earth fight back, no desperate petitions to the Council for mercy. Instead, there was quiet efficiency. Dr. James Chen had been running the medical research facility on Proxima Station for 8 years. His team had been close to finding a cure for the Zephyrian genetic plague that killed thousands every year. When the evacuation order came, he simply saved all their research data, packed up the specialized equipment, and prepared to leave. His Zephyrian research partner, Dr. Zixtal, watched in confusion as the humans loaded their equipment onto transport ships. "You are just leaving?" Zixtal asked, his blue skin pale with worry. "What about our research? What about the cure?" "Doctor," Chen sealed the last container of medical supplies. "I'm sorry, my friend. We have to go. Maybe someone else can continue the work. But no one else understands the human technology you were using. The nanobots, the genetic sequencers, the cell repair systems. We do not know how to operate them. Without you." Dr. Chen looked sad but firm. "I'm sure you'll figure it out. The Council knows what's best for everyone." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. Human engineers who had been working on alien infrastructure projects packed their tools and left. Human teachers who had been sharing knowledge in alien schools said goodbye to their students. Human doctors who had been treating patients in alien hospitals finished their shifts and went home. The evacuation was like watching a magic trick in reverse. Slowly, carefully, all the human pieces disappeared from the galactic puzzle. On the military front, General Sarah Martinez received her orders while commanding the joint Human-Altarian Defense Fleet protecting the Centauri trade routes. Her ships had been fighting off pirates and raiders for 3 years, keeping the space lanes safe for merchant vessels from a dozen different species. "All human vessels are to return to Sol system immediately," her orders read. "Transfer command of operations to Altarian Fleet Command." General Martinez called a meeting with her Altarian counterpart, Admiral Kethvor. "We're pulling out," she told him simply. "Orders from Earth." Admiral Kethvor's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "All of you? What about the pirate problem in Sector 7? What about the raiders near the nebula? Your ships are the only ones fast enough to catch them." "I'm sure you'll manage," General Martinez said. "We're transferring all our patrol schedules and intelligence reports to you before we go." "But we do not have ships that can match human speed and weapons technology. Our vessels are designed for different purposes." General Martinez looked uncomfortable, but determined. "The Council has decided that galactic peace is better served without human military presence. I'm sure they know what they're doing." The general's ships began their withdrawal the next day. Behind them, the Centauri trade routes suddenly looked very empty and vulnerable. On the terraforming world of New Eden, the evacuation was particularly painful to watch. Humans had been working for 50 years to turn the dead planet into a garden. Paradise. They had built atmosphere processors, planted forests, filled empty lakes with water, and created a world where alien refugees could start new lives. The evacuation coordinator, David Kim, stood in the central control room watching thousands of humans board transport ships. Through the windows, he could see the beautiful forests and grasslands his people had created. Representatives from 3 different alien species had come to take over the world. They stood beside David, looking at the control panels with worried expressions. "So these machines create the air we breathe?" asked the Granite People representative, pointing at a massive atmospheric processor. "Yes," David said. "This one handles oxygen levels for the northern continent. That one manages carbon dioxide recycling for the southern regions." "And if they break down?" David shrugged. "I suppose you'll have to fix them. All the instruction manuals are in the computer system." The aliens looked at the incredibly complex control systems with growing alarm. The instruction manuals were written in human technical language and assumed knowledge of human engineering principles that they did not possess. "Perhaps," the Altarian representative suggested carefully, "some of your technical staff could stay behind to train our people." "I'm sorry," David said, though he really did look sorry. The Council was very clear. All humans must leave. By the end of the 6th month, the evacuation was nearly complete. 400 human worlds were emptying out in an orderly, peaceful process that amazed galactic observers. There were no acts of sabotage, no bitter goodbye speeches, no attempts to hide and stay behind. The humans simply left. But they took their technology with them. The Zephyrians who moved into the former human medical research facilities found empty. laboratories with basic equipment that they already possessed. All the advanced human medical devices were gone. The manufacturing blueprints had been deleted from computer systems. The Altarians who took over human mining operations discovered that the automated systems no longer worked. The humans had removed all the specialized control software and taken their mining robots with them. Even more puzzling, many of the facilities that aliens thought were purely their own turned out to have crucial human components. Food processing plants stopped working when human-made filtration systems were removed. Communication networks developed strange gaps where human-operated relay stations had been shut down. The crystalline hive mind discovered that their star charts were suddenly less accurate. It turned out that human survey ships had been quietly correcting navigation errors for decades, and now those corrections were gone. But most aliens did not notice these problems yet. They were too busy celebrating the end of the human problem. The troublesome, aggressive humans were gone. The galaxy could return to its peaceful ways. On Earth, Elena Vasquez stood in the Immigration Processing Center, watching as the last transport ships arrived from distant worlds. Millions of humans were coming home, bringing with them advanced technology, scientific knowledge, and industrial equipment that had taken centuries to develop. "How are they taking it?" asked the director of Colonial Affairs. Elena watched a group of children from the farming world of Haven's Rest, playing in the center courtyard. They seemed happy enough, already making new friends with other refugee children. "Better than expected," she said. "Humans are adaptable. We'll rebuild." "And the galaxy?" Elena was quiet for a long moment. "They'll learn." Outside Earth's atmosphere, construction ships were already building new orbital facilities to house all the returning equipment and knowledge. Humans were very good at starting over. The galaxy had wanted them gone. Now they were gone. Soon, everyone would understand what that really meant. 6 months after the last human transport ship disappeared into the Sol system, the galaxy began to fall apart. It started with small things that most people did not notice at first. A communication relay station near the Vega system went dark. A water purification plant on New Altair began producing cloudy, bitter-tasting liquid. The automatic defense satellites around the Centauri trade hub started giving false readings. But these were tiny problems scattered across thousands of star systems. Surely they were just coincidences. The first major crisis hit the Zephyrian Collective 3 weeks later. Dr. Zixatal stood in his laboratory, staring at a row of patients dying on medical beds. The genetic plague that his research team had been fighting was spreading again, faster than ever before. Without the human-made medical nanobots that had been keeping the disease under control, his people were helpless. "How many more cases today?" he asked his assistant. 47 new infections," came the worried reply. "The old medicines are not working. The disease has changed somehow." Dr. Zixtal had been trying for months to understand the human medical technology that Dr. Chen had left behind. The machines were still there, but they might as well have been magic boxes. Every time he tried to program the nanobots, they shut down or produced useless results. The instruction manuals that the humans had left were written in technical language so complex that it required years of specialized training to understand. Training that only humans possessed. "Send another message to the Sol system," Dr. Zixtal ordered. "Beg them to send Dr. Chen back. Offer them anything they want." His assistant looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we already sent 12 messages. They keep sending the same reply." Dr. Zixtal knew the reply by heart. "Thank you for your communication. Humanity is currently focused on internal development and is not seeking external partnerships at this time. Polite, professional, final." Meanwhile, in the Altarian Republic, Admiral Kethvor was discovering just how impossible his job had become. The pirate raids that had been rare annoyances when the human fleet was patrolling had turned into a serious threat. "Report," he ordered, as his command ship limped back to base after another failed chase. "The raiders hit 3 more cargo convoys this week," his tactical officer reported. "They're using the same pattern as before. Fast strike, grab the goods, disappear into the asteroid field." "And our pursuit? Our ships are too slow, sir. We lose them every time they reach the asteroid belt. The human ships could follow them through those rocks, but our navigation systems cannot handle such tight maneuvers." Admiral Kethvor studied the star charts with growing frustration. When the humans had been here, pirate raids in this sector happened maybe once every few months. Now they were happening almost daily. The human ships had been designed for speed and agility. They could chase raiders through asteroid fields, nebulae, and other dangerous areas where larger alien vessels could not follow. Without them, the pirates had free run of the trade routes. "What about asking the Granite people for help?" suggested his communications officer. "Their ships are even slower than ours," Admiral Kethvor replied, "and they are having their own problems." Indeed, they were. The Granite people's mining operations were collapsing without human technology. Their ancient, slow methods of extracting minerals from asteroids could not compete with the efficiency they had grown used to. Worlds that depended on those minerals for basic construction were running short of supplies. Worse yet, the automated systems that had been mining dead worlds were breaking down. The Granite people had always assumed these systems were their own technology, just improved over time. Now they discovered that the improvements had been human modifications that their own engineers could not repair or replace. The crystalline hive mind was facing a different crisis. Their vast network of interconnected colonies had always depended on perfect navigation and communication between star systems, but their star charts were becoming unreliable. Ships were getting lost. Messages were being delayed or lost entirely. Colony worlds were becoming isolated from the central hive network. Investigation revealed the problem. For centuries, human survey ships had been quietly correcting errors in galactic navigation data. They had been updating star charts, marking new asteroid fields, noting changes in stellar positions, and mapping safe routes through dangerous regions. Without that constant updating, the crystalline navigation network was slowly becoming obsolete. But worse, the hive mind realized they had no idea how to do this work themselves. Human survey techniques were far advanced beyond their own methods. The Void Collective, beings of pure energy who rarely bothered with physical matters, found themselves facing a crisis they had never expected. The power stations that fed their energy forms were failing. For thousands of years, they had drawn energy from carefully balanced fusion reactors on dozens of worlds. These reactors had always worked perfectly, generating exactly the type of energy the collective needed to survive. But now the reactors were becoming unstable. Energy output was fluctuating wildly. Some stations were producing too little power, others too much. Several had already shut down completely. Investigation by the collective's few physical servants revealed the truth. The fusion reactors had been continuously maintained and improved by human engineers. The power balance that the Void Collective required was not natural. It had been artificially maintained by human technology for so long that everyone had forgotten. Without human maintenance, the reactors were returning to their original unstable patterns. Patterns that could not support the Void Collective's energy needs. On the agricultural world of Haven's Rest, the new alien farmers were learning that growing food was much harder than they had expected. The crops that had grown so well under human management were dying. The soil was wrong. The weather patterns were chaotic. The automated farming systems had broken down. Even the seeds that the humans had left behind would not grow properly. Investigation revealed that Haven's Rest had never been a naturally fertile world. The humans had spent decades modifying the soil, adjusting the weather, and genetically altering the crops to work together in perfect balance. Without constant human maintenance, the artificial ecosystem was collapsing back to its original state, a barren, hostile planet that could barely support life. Similar discoveries were being made across the galaxy. Worlds that had seemed naturally paradise-like were revealed to be carefully maintained artificial environments. Trade routes that had appeared naturally safe were actually protected by hidden human patrol schedules. Technologies that had seemed to be alien improvements were actually human innovations that had been quietly integrated into alien systems. The Galactic Council began receiving increasingly desperate messages from their member species. The Zephyrians begged for human medical assistance. The Altarians demanded that human military ships return to protect the trade routes. The Granite people pleaded for human engineers to restart their mining operations. All these messages were forwarded to the Sol system. All received the same polite, unhelpful response. In the council chambers, emergency sessions were being called, more and more frequently. "The pirate raids have increased by 400%, reported the Altarian representative, her four voices shaking with stress. "Our shipping industry is facing collapse." Our people are dying of diseases we thought we had conquered, added the Zephyrian leader. The medical systems the humans built are shutting down one by one. Our food production is failing on 17 worlds, said the representative from the Botanical Alliance. The crops will not grow without human agricultural technology. The HFY crystalline hive mind's representative flickered with agitation. Our navigation networks are becoming unreliable. We are losing contact with outer colonies. One by one, each species reported the same basic problem. Systems they had taken for granted were failing. Technologies they had assumed were their own were revealed to be human-dependent. Services they had thought were natural features of galactic civilization were disappearing. The granite speaker, oldest member of the council, listened to all the reports with growing dread. His stone face showed no expression, but inside his mineral heart, a cold understanding was growing. "How long," he asked quietly, "has this been going on?" "The problem started about 3 months after the human evacuation was completed," replied the Void Collective representative. "No," the granite speaker said slowly. "How long have the humans been helping us?" The council chamber fell silent, as the full scope of their mistake began to become clear. They had not removed a threat to galactic stability. They had removed the foundation that galactic stability rested on. And now, as the galaxy began to crumble around them, Earth remained silent, polite, professional, and completely unreachable. 2 years had passed since humanity's quiet exodus, and the galaxy was dying. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session that had been running for 6 days straight. Representatives from all 12 member species sat in their chambers, surrounded by stacks of reports, data tablets, and increasingly desperate messages from their home worlds. The Zephyrian leader looked terrible. His normally bright blue skin had faded to a sickly gray color. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had not slept in days. "The death toll from the genetic plague has reached 2 million, he reported, his voice hoarse. "Without the human medical nanobots, we cannot stop it from spreading. Our best scientists have been working around the clock for 2 years, and they still cannot understand how the human technology worked." The Altarian representative was in worse shape. 2 of her 4 arms were in medical supports after a stress-related collapse. "The pirate raids have destroyed our economy. Entire trade routes have been abandoned. Cargo ships refuse to travel without protection, and our military vessels are too slow to provide effective security. We have lost 60% of our interstellar commerce." Similar reports came from every species. The Granite People's mining industry had collapsed, leading to critical shortages of building materials across a dozen systems. The Void Collective was slowly starving as their power stations continued to fail. 3 different agricultural worlds had become uninhabitable as their human-maintained ecosystems collapsed. But the worst discovery had come from a team of investigators who had spent months analyzing old communication records, trade agreements, and historical data. What they found had shocked everyone. Dr. Veltar, a crystalline hive mind researcher, presented their findings to the council. Her crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy as she began her report. "We have analyzed over 10,000 years of galactic history," she began. "What we found is disturbing. The human species has been involved in galactic affairs far longer than anyone realized." She activated a holographic display showing a timeline of galactic events. 300 years ago, when humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, we assumed they were newcomers to galactic civilization, but our research shows they had been influencing events for decades before making official contact. The hologram showed shipping routes, military movements, and diplomatic communications. Everywhere there were subtle signs of human involvement. The Treaty of Proxima that ended the Altarian-Zephyrian War. It was negotiated by a human diplomat working under an assumed alien identity. The cure for the crystal plague that saved the hive mind colonies, developed in a secret human research facility. The asteroid deflection system that saved the Granite homeworld, built and operated by humans but credited to Granite engineers. The council members stared at the evidence in stunned silence. Dr. Veltar continued. "For centuries, humans have been working behind the scenes to prevent wars, stop diseases, handle natural disasters, and maintain the systems that keep galactic civilization running. They never asked for credit. They never demanded payment. They just helped." The granite speaker's voice rumbled like distant thunder. How is this possible? Why did we never notice? Because they did not want us to notice, Dr. Veltar replied. They used false identities, shell companies, and dummy organizations to hide their involvement. When they prevented a war, they made it look like natural diplomacy. When they stopped a plague, they made it seem like the local species had discovered the cure themselves. She brought up another display showing economic data. Look at this. Every time a species faced a major crisis, human merchant ships just happened to arrive with exactly the supplies needed. Human research teams just happened to make breakthrough discoveries at the right time. Human military vessels just happened to be in the right place to stop disasters. The pattern was undeniable. For centuries, humanity had been the galaxy's invisible safety net. The Void Collective representative pulsed with agitation. But why? What did they gain from this? As far as we can tell, Dr. Veltar said, nothing. They seem to have helped simply because they could. Because they thought it was the right thing to do. The council chamber fell into a long, uncomfortable silence. Around the galaxy, billions of beings were suffering from problems that humans could solve easily, and those humans were sitting in their home system, politely refusing all contact. The Zephyrian leader spoke first. We have to contact them. We have to apologize. We have to beg them to come back. We have tried, replied the Altarian representative. Every day for 18 months we have sent messages to the Sol system. The same response every time. Thank you for your communication. Humanity is currently focused on internal development and is not seeking external partnerships at this time. Then we must try harder, insisted the representative from the Botanical Alliance. Send them gifts. Offer them money, territory, anything they want. The granite speaker shook his massive head. I do not think they want anything we can offer. If they had wanted payment for their help, they would have asked for it, centuries ago. Then what do they want? Demanded the Void Collective. The oldest member of the council looked around at his fellow representatives. These beings who had considered themselves the wisest leaders in the galaxy now looked like confused children who had broken their favorite toy and could not figure out how to fix it. I think, the granite speaker said slowly, they want us to understand what we did. Over the following weeks, increasingly desperate attempts were made to contact humanity. The Council authorized massive resource expenditures for gifts that were sent to the Sol system, rare minerals, advanced artworks, even offers of entire star systems. All were politely returned with the same standard message. Individual species tried their own approaches. The Zephyrians sent personal appeals from plague victims begging for human medical help. The Altarians offered to make humanity the official protectors of their trade routes with full authority and unlimited resources. The crystalline hive mind proposed a formal alliance that would give humans equal voting rights in the council. All received the same response. Thank you for your communication. Humanity is currently focused on internal development and is not seeking external partnerships at this time. Some species tried less diplomatic methods. The Altarian Republic sent a small fleet to the edge of the Sol system to request face-to-face negotiations. The ships were met by human vessels that appeared so quickly and in such numbers that it was clear Earth's defenses had been watching them long before they arrived. The human ships did not threaten or attack. They simply surrounded the Altarian fleet and waited. When the Altarian admiral requested permission to send a diplomatic shuttle to Earth, the humans politely refused and escorted the alien ships back to the edge of the system. The message was clear. Humanity was not interested in visitors. Spy missions were equally unsuccessful. Ships that tried to enter the Sol system without permission found themselves gently but firmly turned around by human patrols that seemed to appear from nowhere. No alien vessel had gotten close enough to Earth to see what the humans were doing, but long-range sensors picked up massive construction projects throughout the Sol system, new orbital stations, expanded shipyards, and structures too large and advanced for the sensor systems to identify clearly. Whatever the humans were building, it was on a scale that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Meanwhile, the galactic crisis continued to worsen. Wars broke out between species that had been at peace for centuries. Without human peacekeepers working behind the scenes, old conflicts flared up again. Disease and famine spread across worlds that had not faced such problems in living memory. The Galactic Council met every day now, but their sessions had become exercises in futility. They could identify the problems, but they had no solutions. Every crisis they faced required exactly the kind of help that humans had been providing for centuries. Help that was no longer available. Dr. Veltar presented her final report to the Council after 6 months of continuous research. Her crystalline form was dim with exhaustion, but her findings were clear. We have found evidence of human involvement in over 80% of the major beneficial events in galactic history over the past 3 centuries, she reported. They prevented 17 wars, stopped 43 plagues, handled 68 natural disasters, and maintained thousands of critical systems across the galaxy. She paused, then added the most devastating finding of all. Without human intervention, galactic civilization as we know it cannot survive. We are not just facing a series of separate problems. We are watching the collapse of a way of life that was only possible because humans were holding it together. The council members sat in stunned silence. They had thought they were banishing a troublesome species. Instead, they had destroyed their own civilization. And somewhere in the Sol system, humanity watched and waited, as patient and unreachable as distant stars. The galaxy had wanted them gone. Now everyone was learning what that actually meant. 3 years after humanity's exodus, the Galactic Council made a decision that would have been unthinkable just a few years earlier. For the first time in the Council's 10,000-year history, all 12 member species would travel together to petition a single world. They were going to Earth. The journey to the Sol system took 2 weeks. 12 massive ships carrying the most important leaders from across the galaxy flew in formation toward humanity's home. Inside the lead vessel, the council members sat in an emergency session that had been running for the entire trip. They were no longer the proud, confident leaders who had banished humanity 3 years ago. The Zephyrian leader's skin had turned a permanent sickly gray from the stress of watching his people die from plagues that human medicine could have cured. The Altarian representative had lost weight until her 4 arms looked like brittle sticks. Half the Granite people's colonies had been abandoned as their mining equipment failed, and their people could no longer survive on dead worlds. The crystalline hive mind was perhaps in the worst condition. Without reliable navigation and communication, their vast network of connected colonies was breaking apart. Individual crystal beings were becoming isolated from the greater consciousness, something that had not happened in millions of years. Several had gone completely silent, possibly dead, possibly just lost in space. As they approached the edge of the Sol system, the council ships were met by a sight that stopped all conversation. The human fleet that appeared around them was beyond anything they had imagined. Sleek ships that moved like living creatures surrounded the council vessels in perfect formation. The technology was clearly decades ahead of anything the galaxy possessed. Weapons that hummed with barely contained energy, shields that bent light around the ships like flowing water. But most shocking of all was the sheer number of ships. The humans had built a fleet that could have conquered the entire galaxy if they had wanted to. A communication channel opened, and a familiar voice filled the council chamber. "Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Elena Vasquez. We have been expecting you." Elena's image appeared on the main screen. She looked older than when they had last seen her, with streaks of gray in her dark hair. But her eyes were calm and patient, just as they had been 3 years ago. "Ambassador Vasquez," the Zephyrian leader began, his voice shaking. We need to talk. Please. Our people are dying." "I understand," Elena replied. "You are welcome to dock with our orbital station. We have prepared meeting facilities." The council ships were guided to a massive space station that had not existed 3 years ago. The structure was beautiful and terrifying, built with human technology that made their own ships look like primitive toys. As they docked, the council members could see through the windows that the entire Sol system had been transformed. New orbital habitats surrounded every planet. Massive construction yards floated in the asteroid belt, building ships and structures on a scale that dwarfed anything in galactic history. Mars had been covered with glittering cities. Even the outer planets had been surrounded with industrial complexes. In 3 years of isolation, humanity had advanced their civilization by centuries. The meeting room on the station was simple and comfortable, with chairs designed for each species' physiology. Elena sat across from the 12 council leaders, her hands folded calmly on the table. For a long moment, nobody spoke. These beings, who had once judged humanity unworthy of galactic citizenship, now sat before a human representative like children, waiting to be scolded. Finally, the granite speaker broke the silence. "We were wrong." Elena nodded. "Yes, you were. We did not understand," the Altarian representative added, her 4 voices barely above a whisper. "We thought you were the problem. We did not realize you were the solution." "We know that now," Elena said gently. The Zephyrian leader leaned forward desperately. "Our people are dying. The plague has spread to 40 worlds. Without human medical technology, we cannot stop it. Please, I am begging you, help us." Elena's expression remained calm but sympathetic. "I am sorry for your people's suffering. Truly I am." "But you will help?" the Zephyrian leader asked hopefully. Elena was quiet. For a long moment. "Tell me," she said finally, "what has changed?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. What do you mean?" asked the Void Collective representative. 3 years ago, you told us we were too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous for galactic civilization. You said we disrupted the peaceful balance that had existed for 10,000 years. You ordered us to leave because our presence was harmful. Elena looked at each council member in turn. What has changed about humanity that would make us acceptable now? The council members shifted uncomfortably. Several looked down at the table. We understand better now," the Botanical Alliance representative said weakly. "Understand what?" "That we needed you," the Altarian representative admitted. "That you were not disrupting the peace. You were maintaining it." Elena nodded slowly. "So the only thing that has changed is your understanding of what we were already doing." The statement was not a question, and no one tried to answer it. "Let me ask you another question," Elena continued. "If we return, if we help you solve these crises, what happens the next time you decide we are inconvenient? The next time our methods seem too aggressive or our presence too disruptive?" "It would not happen again," the Zephyrian leader said quickly. "We have learned our lesson." "Have you?" Elena asked. "Or have you simply learned that you need us?" The distinction hit the council members like a physical blow. They had not actually changed their opinion of humanity. They had only learned that they could not survive without human help. Elena stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth. The planet below was green and blue and beautiful, surrounded by orbital habitats that housed billions of humans who had returned from across the galaxy. "For 3 centuries," she said quietly, "humanity served the galaxy without asking for recognition or reward. We prevented wars, stopped plagues, maintained systems, and protected trade routes. We did it because we believed it was right. Because we believed in a galactic civilization where all species could thrive together." She turned back to face the council. "But you never saw us as partners in that civilization. You saw us as a problem to be tolerated, and the moment you felt strong, enough, you threw us out. We made a mistake," the granite speaker rumbled. "A terrible mistake. Yes, you did. But the mistake was not in your assessment of our capabilities. The mistake was in your assessment of our character." Elena sat back down, her calm eyes meeting each council member's gaze. "You thought we helped because we wanted something from you. Power, territory, resources. You could not understand that we helped simply because we could." The crystalline hive mind representative flickered with desperate energy. "Then you will help us now, since you help because you can?" Elena smiled, but it was not entirely a happy expression. "We could help you. Our technology has advanced significantly. In the past 3 years, we could cure the plagues, restart the mining operations, repair the communication networks, and stop the pirate raids. We could have your civilization running smoothly again within a few months." Hope flared in every council member's eyes. "But we will not," Elena continued, and the hope died instantly. "Why?" the Zephyrian leader demanded, his gray skin flushing with desperate anger. "If you can help, why will you not? Are you punishing us? Do you want revenge?" "No," Elena said, calmly. We want you to learn. She stood up again, this time facing the entire council. For 10,000 years, your species have believed that galactic civilization was the natural result of your wisdom and peaceful nature. You thought that harmony was the default state of the universe, and that any disruption came from outside forces. Elena gestured toward the window and the struggling galaxy beyond. Now you are learning the truth. Civilization is not natural. Peace is not the default. Harmony requires constant work, constant vigilance, and constant sacrifice. For 3 centuries, humanity provided that work. We were your invisible foundation. And now, asked the granite speaker, now you get to learn how to build your own foundation. The council members stared at her in shock. You are abandoning us? The Altarian representative whispered. We are giving you the chance to grow up, Elena replied, to take responsibility for your own civilization instead of depending on others to maintain it for you. But people are dying, the Zephyrian leader shouted. Billions of innocent beings are suffering. Elena's calm expression flickered for the first time, showing a hint of pain. Yes, they are, and every death weighs on our conscience. But your species will never learn to stand on their own as long as they know humanity will always be there to catch them when they fall. She walked back to her chair, but did not sit down. We will give you the same choice you gave us 3 years ago. Take responsibility for your own civilization or face the consequences of your dependence. How long? The granite speaker asked quietly. What? How long will you wait? How long will you let us suffer before you decide we have learned enough? Elena looked at the oldest council member with something that might have been respect. That, she said, is entirely up to you. The meeting was over.